Sarah was a typical college student who needed a part-time job to pay her tuition. She found a job as a cashier at a local supermarket. On her first day, she was introduced to Mike, who was responsible for restocking the shelves. They quickly became friends and started working together. One day, Sarah noticed that some of the items on the shelves were moved to different locations than where they were initially placed. Mike said he didn't move them and thought it was just a mistake made by other employees. The following day, the same thing happened, but this time, Sarah saw a shadow moving across the aisle. She dismissed it as her imagination, but she couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling. A week later, Mr. Johnson called them into his office and told them that the supermarket was experiencing strange occurrences, such as items moving by themselves, doors opening and closing, and strange noises heard during the night. He also mentioned that some customers had reported seeing a ghostly figure lurking in the store. Sarah and Mike were shocked, but thought it was just a prank. The next night, Sarah was working the late shift, and Mike was restocking the shelves in the back of the store. Suddenly, Sarah heard a strange noise coming from the direction of the stockroom. She decided to investigate and found the door open, even though she knew Mike had closed it earlier. She called out to Mike, but there was no response. Sarah walked into the stockroom and saw a figure standing in the corner. She couldn't see its face, but it had a cold, eerie aura around it. She tried to back away slowly, but the figure started to move towards her, making strange noises that sent shivers down her spine. Suddenly, the lights went out, and Sarah found herself in complete darkness. She fumbled for her phone and turned on the flashlight, but the battery was low. The figure was getting closer, and Sarah could feel its icy breath on her neck. She screamed for help, but no one came. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, and the figure vanished. The following day, Sarah and Mike told Mr. Johnson what had happened, and he decided to hire a paranormal investigator to look into the matter. The investigator found that the supermarket was built on an old cemetery, and that the ghost of a woman who died in a tragic accident was haunting the store. Mr. Johnson decided to close the store for good and have the building exorcised to get rid of the ghostly presence. Sarah and Mike never forgo. Despite the supermarket being closed and the ghost of the woman finally at peace, rumors started to spread around the town about the supermarket. People started to talk about how the building was cursed and how the ghost of the woman could still be seen lurking around the building at night. A group of teenagers, curious about the rumors, decided to break into the abandoned supermarket to see if the stories were true. As they walked around the dark and empty store, they noticed that the items on the shelves were moving by themselves. Suddenly, they heard strange noises and saw the figure of a woman walking towards them. Terrified, they tried to run, but the doors wouldn't budge. The figure got closer, and the teenagers realized it was the ghost of the woman haunting the supermarket. They were trapped and couldn't escape. The ghostly figure started to chase them, making strange noises that echoed throughout the building. The teenagers stumbled upon an old storage room, and in a desperate attempt to escape, they locked themselves in. They could hear the ghostly figure trying to break the door down, but it held strong. They sat in silence, terrified and unsure of what would happen next. Hours later, the police found the teenagers huddled in the storage room, shaking and in shock. They were taken to the hospital for treatment, and the authorities sealed the supermarket for good. The legend of the haunted supermarket lived on in the town's folklore, and people continued to talk about the terrifying events that took place there. It became a place that nobody dared to go near, a place that was forever cursed. Years went by, and the building was eventually torn down, making way for a new development. But some say that on quiet nights, when the wind is just right, you can still hear the ghostly cries of the woman who died tragically, reminding people of the horrors that once took place in the haunted supermarket.